you noticed, and a lot of people say this, but especially boomers, they'll say that their childhood was like the greatest time, when they were kids. And a lot of them were kids in the late 40s, 1946 to 1964 is the boomer generation time frame. So a lot of them will say they had the greatest childhood. The last boomer was born in 1964, so that ended the childhood for the boomers. It wasn't until JFK was killed in 63, and then 64, like I said, everything shifted with the hippie movement and all that stuff. The boomers' childhood had ended, and now they were becoming, teenagers and adults, and things started shifting in the country. Many of them still talk to this day about getting back to, their childhood again, their youth, when life was better, it was easier, it was simpler, people got along. 64 is when the shift happened in this country, when everything really started changing. And you just look at the country since then, things have gone drastically downhill. Because look at before that, you had World War II. We won that war, and it was an amazing time for America because we basically looked like the saviors of the world. Not to mention, we had basically become this world superpower in just a short time before that with the Industrial Revolution. So we were really on a roll. And then, like I said, the 50s was an amazing decade. Even with the Korean War, it wasn't even a big deal because World War II was so big that Korea was kind of, in the shadows of that and didn't really seem that big of a deal. The 50s was an amazing era. A lot of people prospered and thrived. People had homes. That was that whole time period where it was like truly the American dream. You had a house with a white picket fence, 2 cars in the driveway, a wife that stayed home and raised the kids, a husband that went to work. Everybody had savings and were able to take, vacations. And, not everybody, don't get me wrong, not everybody gets to experience that part of the American dream. But the people who were here for a while, who were established, they got to live that dream. And that's where that, American dream concept really kind of, peaked, was this idea of that's the American dream that everybody really wanted, is just to live a great life, just to have a home, have family. JFK's death was the switch in this country. It was the switch that turned things from the greatest time to be an American to a downhill slide of everything great in this country until the present day.